everybody, welcome back to the 80s Slashers YouTube channel. In this video, I will be discussing and reviewing the 1982 slasher film Death Valley. Yeah, we're gonna take a look at the plot of the film, the setting, the kills, the nudity. We'll take a look at the Blu-ray itself before wrapping up with some final thoughts. So yeah, Death Valley. So this was a first time watch for me, and going into this, my general impression, just from reading stuff online over the years and whatnot, was that the debate is whether or not this was a slasher film. Some people say it's a slasher, some was just like it's a horror film. So that was that's what I was expecting. Like, what type of slasher is this I'm going to watch? And I'll say this, even though this is definitely a different style of slasher, in my opinion, this is still without a doubt what I would consider an 80s slasher. Now, I can see why people are unsure of it, because it just the way that the film itself is structured, it's structured quite differently in terms of like the plot and just kind of the pacing. And it doesn't really follow many of the typical tropes that are usually associated with the genre. But I feel that this is one of those slashers that, um, even though like it does have like the bones of of a slasher flick, I feel that it's aiming to be much more than that. And I don't know, like in my opinion, I feel like it mostly succeeds in those, you know, in those ambitions to just kind of just be just to be like a solid horror film and not just like your run of the mill lowly slasher flick. Yeah, I don't know. So, why do I think this? Well, we'll get into it. But before we do, let's just jump right in and let's just talk about the plot. Okay, so the plot of Death Valley, basically the film opens. We see like a pretty dramatic moment between a father and his son walking around the streets of New York City, and they're having um, this conversation about like family drama, like parents divorcing, mother having a new boyfriend and whatnot. And so that's the setup. So, like the big picture of what's going on in this world with this little boy. And I should say the little boy, obviously, if you can't tell from the picture, is played by Peter Billingsley, who, uh, you know, most of us know from A Christmas Story. He played Ralphie, little Ralphie, in the pink bunny suit from A Christmas Story. So he's much younger in this. I think he's a couple years younger than from A Christmas Story. So, but yeah, so that's that the father is telling the little son, like, this is your new life. This is what's going on, kind of thing. And then we kind of fast forward, and he's going with his mother, who's played by Catherine Hicks, who is also in Child's Play, and she's a really good actress. So she brings some good acting chops to the film. So he goes with her on an airplane. They fly down to Arizona to go on a trip to see Death Valley, and they meet up with her new boyfriend, who he's meeting for the first time, and they go on like a road trip. They get in a car and they're driving, through the desert of like California and Arizona and those places, like stopping and seeing sights along the way. Eventually, during their trip, they kind of come across like a RV, a motorhome, and a murder takes place. He kind of witnesses it in a. The little boy gets some information on the killer. There's a serial killer on the loose, and then it kind of gets into like a cat and mouse game with the killer and this boy and his family, and the sheriff gets involved, and the killer finds out that the boy has some information about the thing, and it just kind of it plays out from there. And basically we see like the killer hunting down little Ralphie. That's not his name in the movie. I'll probably keep referring to him as Ralphie just because that's how I know him as. But yeah, and then of course, we come to the big conclusion at the end when the killer is confronted by the young boy, and yeah, it plays it like that. And along the way, there's people that get in the way and get killed one by one. So yeah, that's basically a brief little description of the plot. And so yeah, what I'll say is, like I mentioned earlier, this film opens on a very dramatic note, and it really does set up some of the tone for the film because it's the family drama. It pops up throughout the film, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, it's kind of weird because it's like it didn't open like your typical horror film, so it kind of threw me off a little. I was like, "What is this? What is this I'm watching? Is this even a horror film?" It's just like deep conversations of little boys crying and their dads saying "I love you" and "I love you too" and hugging. I'm just like, "Oh boy, this isn't a horror film." So that's kind of how it opened. But once the road trip aspect of the film starts, that's when the horror elements really kick in, and um, that's a good thing. The horror elements are present, and they're quite good in my opinion. But for sure, this is a slower paced film, especially in that first half before all like the killing really gets going. And that's not a bad thing that it's slower paced. It's again, this is a plot driven character development type of film, and they wanted to take their time with these characters, and it kind of it pays off, I think. There's not a lot of characters, so they can do that. Like some of these slasher flicks, there's like 8, 10, teens running around. You can't get to know them all, but this is only like three basically main characters on a road trip, so we get to spend a lot of time with them, which I like that. It's good. But like I said, it does pick up near the conclusion of the film. Now, the next thing I'll say about this is Peter Billingsley, Little Ralphie. He's not a good actor in this anyway. Like I feel like I've seen A Christmas Story so many times that I feel like he's a good actor in that. It's just it's so normal to me watching that character in that film. But in this, he was kind of tough to watch for me. Like I said, he was a couple years younger in this film. He's really young. I don't know how old he was. I should have looked it up. He's I don't know, 6 or 7, maybe he's 8 or 9. I don't know. He looks really small, and some of his lines are really forced. Like I feel like he got cast because he's kind of a cute little kid with the big blonde hair and the big doughy eyes behind the glasses. Kind of a cute kid, and but yeah, some of his the the delivery of his lines were a little cringeworthy. It wasn't all bad, but there was a lot of moments that I was just like, oh boy, this Ralphie man, I tell ya. So yeah, that was not great, like he's the lead. He's the lead character in this film, and he didn't. I don't want to say he did a bad job, but there was moments that it was. And another thing with that, like the fact that he was the lead, I don't really like when slasher flicks have like like the final girl or the final boy as being like a little kid, like squaring off with like a serial killer. It worked for me. It worked in Friday the 13th, the final chapter with Corey Feldman. That worked for me. But Peter Billingsley's not Corey Feldman, again, he's younger than Corey Feldman was at that time. So yeah, I just that's the story, that's the plot of it, which is fine. But yeah, it didn't work great for me in this film. But fortunately, like I said, the supporting cast was really good. Like I said, Catherine Hicks, she's great. She's really good in this. The boyfriend, he was really good. Wilford Brimley plays the sheriff. He's great. He's fantastic in this. Um, and then the killer, there's no big reveal. Like I guess it kind of plays a little bit, but then you slowly know who the killer is. But he's fantastic. Really off-putting, creepy, kind of like a sleazy, Sleazy's not the right word. Kind of like I don't know, swarmy kind of. I don't know. He's kind of has a. He's good. The killer's really good. He was in Seinfeld. I forget his name, but he played Dr. Reston. I think in Seinfeld, Elaine's boyfriend. So if you're familiar with Seinfeld, he's that guy, and he's great. He's really good in this. Um, so yeah, so the acting, with the exception of Billingsley, was really good. Solid film, solid acting, like all around. Um, Now, in terms of the plot, like I said, if the big weakness for me with the plot is there's too much of that family drama. It slows it down whenever it's there, and it happens a little too much. Like it's not throughout the whole thing. It's just they consistently sprinkle it throughout. They get some action, some horror, and then there's like a moment between like the kid and the mother about like life talk, kind of like the boyfriend, give the new boyfriend a chance, and I'll try, mom, and blah blah blah. It's a little much for me because it kind of little melodramatic kind of stuff. So that was sprinkled in here. So yeah, that's a knock for me. But I will say also something that was sprinkled throughout the film, which did work. This film has some pretty tense moments. Not super intense, not like on the edge of your seat type stuff, but I found that there was some good tension in this film. There was a couple scenes in particular that I was invested. I was like staring at the screen, just like waiting for what's gonna happen. And that's good, like a horror film should be able to captivate you and suck you into the story. And Death Valley did that more than once. So like I said, it was sprinkled throughout. So I'm gonna give it props for that for sure. Now, as for the end of the film, the climax, there is sort of, I guess, what you would call a twist reveal. Typical for the genre. I guessed it, and I don't know if it was. I guess it was meant to be a big reveal. I kind of saw it coming, and yeah, like I kind of was like, oh, I bet you this is what's gonna happen. And sure enough, I feel like it wasn't like they were trying to hide it that much, but when it happened, they were trying to go for a big shock value. I don't know. It was all right. Like I say, it worked. There was no plot inconsistencies to make it not work. It all worked well. I guess it was a little predictable, but that's all right. Like these, for someone like me who watches these movies all the time, it's probably hard to trick me, So I don't know. So yeah, Death Valley, definitely a different style of slasher. Definitely for more of a mature audience. I think it's one of those it's trying to be something else. It's not trying to be just like the teen hack and slash that was popular. This is 82. I mean, all these types of films were like that. This is something else. This is a good quality film, good acting, good directing, all that stuff. But it was, shaped around the loose bones of a slasher film, I guess that's the best way to put it. So yeah, so plot wise, I liked it. It was good. This was a good, interesting story. All right, let's move on and take a look at the setting. Okay, so Death Valley, like I said, most of it, even though like the introduction was filmed in New York City, the setting for this film occurs in like Arizona and California is where it was filmed, and it's basically like desert, like they're driving through the desert in these areas, Death Valley, like that's where they're heading. And it's great, man. Like setting a slasher in like a desert, it's pretty unique. Like I know there's stuff like The Hills Have Eyes and stuff like that, but and there's a lot of like forest based, like Just Before Dawn and the forest and all that stuff. But this is like a desert outside survival kind of thing. It's not really survival. It's they're in a car and they're road tripping, and that aspect of it, like being on a road trip with a family, it's great. You think like National Lampoon's Vacation. They're in like a station wagon and they're driving through like desert, and they make a few stops. There's a few settings like restaurants and hotels and like museums and like Old West. Like they go in where they put on like the Old West six shooter shows and stuff like that. Like it's kind of like they're on vacation. and it's great. I really liked that setting aspect for this film. Um, and like I said, there is some stuff at like the hotels and stuff, but the large majority of the film is outdoors. In daylight until like near the end when it gets nighttime, of course. But a lot of the majority of the film is outdoor, brightly lit in the desert, and it's I don't know, I liked it. I thought it's really good. It had a certain look to it. Yeah, really it worked well for me. And this this desert setting really adds a sense of isolation, but it's kind of like a like a wide open sort of isolation, if that makes sense. Like the little kids looking around, and you just see like the camera pans, and you see no one. It's just like desert, like sand dunes and mountains and whatnot, and it's like you're I don't know, it's just it's kind of terrifying to be like trapped in this location. Like, because you can't run off in the desert because you'll die, so it's kind of that, like the nature element is something to be feared as well. And then you throw a killer on the loose, it works really well. Yeah, so I really like that. So yeah, like I don't know. In terms of like this setting, I think it's great. It's not like it's nothing like a lot of these films are like set on on a school or a shopping mall or a sleepaway camp, something like that. It's something specific. This is more of a like a macro vibe. Like it's just like you see them traveling down the road, cars chasing them or stalking them on the highway, and like pulling into restaurants and gas stations. It's just kind of a bigger picture setting, and it's great. I really liked it. So yeah, I definitely two thumbs up for the setting. It's different. Again, it's very unique, but for me at least it worked. All right, let's move on and take a look at the kills. Okay, so Death Valley has a total of 5 kills, which isn't great. It's definitely a lower body count for sure. Um, In terms of pacing, the kills are paced pretty good, I think, throughout the film. The first kill takes place at about 15 minutes in, which it's setting up the family drama and getting the road trip going. So it's fine. It worked well. Um, so yeah, I think the kills are pretty evenly spaced, though only having 5 kills, it still seems like there's blocks of nothing happening in terms of kills. So um I don't know, like it's evenly paced, but still not enough in my opinion. The kills themselves, they're all right. They're just all right. You know they're an attempt at slasher kills, so I have to give them credit for that. They just didn't have like the best practical effects, if any, really, to really capture the genre. But again, I don't think that's what they were going for. They were going for more of a horror, not a cheap, slasher effect that relies on these special effects. Like I said, there was tension and there was character development, and the kills kind of played into that. Um, a lot of the kills, there's only 5, but like I don't know, like I think it was like 2 or 3 that were like throat slits, and they weren't great. They were basically just like um, like the throat here, and the knife just goes like this, and you see the knife going across, and then there's like a trail of blood. Like there's no opening, like no opening wound, just that, and the cheap looking blood, and then runs down, and they collapse. That's the throat slit in this film. Um, they're not terrible. They're just a little disappointing because we're used to like you see the big thing and then the big wound opens up. That's a good throat slit in these movies. So yeah, there is a decent pickaxe kill that has a pretty good effect of like the pickaxe going into the body. And then after that, like we see some after effects. Like there's a couple kills. There is actually a throat slit after effect. You see like the dead body, and they do have the gaping the gaping wound on their throat. So yeah, so there's some stuff here, but it is mostly blood effects. So yeah, the kills are not the strong point in this film, but they're acceptable because they kind of fit the picture, and they were going for other horror elements, I think. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. But not the strong point, but they're not bad. They're okay. All right, let's move on. Talk about the nudity. All right, so yeah, Death Valley had one nude scene, and it's pretty good. It's a pretty good scene. You could see it coming a mile away as soon as they introduced these characters. You saw the woman, the young woman, young adult, whatever, and she was wearing like a crop top that was kind of see-through, like you kind of see stuff through her shirt, and and there was a guy with her, and you're like, okay, here comes the nude scene. So it was clearly gratuitous, and it felt like they were putting it in just for the sake of having a nude scene, so they could say like, yes, there's nudity in this film. That's what it kind of felt like to me, which is fine. That's at this time, like I, I guess they felt like they needed nudity, because it was par for the course. If you're gonna make a slasher flick, there's got to be a little bit of TNA. So yeah, and like I said, the scene was okay. She was, the one good thing was it was when she was getting killed. So I like that. She was topless as she was getting killed. So they kind of combined them. It wasn't really sleazy or anything. It was just the whole scene was put in there to appease the audience. That's what I feel like. So I don't know. But yeah, just like the kills, the nudity was not the strong point. I'm gonna give them points for putting it in, but that was it, and there was nothing even remotely close after that. So that's all you're gonna get. So yeah, all right, let's move on, and we'll talk about the Blu-ray. All right, so yeah, this Blu-ray here, it was put out by Screen Factory. This is a little older release. I don't know if it ever came with a slipcase. I feel like it didn't, because when Scream Factory, they have like the big releases and the fancy, like the My Bloody Valentines with like the reversible cover art, the big slipcase, all the special features. This is one of their bare bones releases. Um, basically the special features you get an audio commentary with the director. There's a couple trailers, and there's like a TV spot that's like 26 seconds, and that's it. So special features, you besides the commentary track, you're getting nothing. Um, in here, like you get a DVD, which is nice, DVD and a Blu-ray, and you get no reversible cover art, but you get some stills, I guess, from the film. So that's something. It's nice to have. Um, But yeah, this is a pretty, like I said, a bare bones release. However, the video quality is fantastic. This film looked really good. Again, maybe it was just a product of being filmed in the bright sunlight, so the lighting was really good. But there was times that I felt like I was watching like a movie made within like the last couple years. It felt like really good quality, like video quality. And of course the sound, same thing. The sound matched the video quality. So audio, video, fantastic. I'm assuming this is the best this is ever gonna look. Of course we might get another Blu-ray one day, a 4K release, who knows? But I don't know if it could look that much better. So if you're looking to grab it, this is clearly the best option. Um, yeah, for this film. So that's it, pretty much. Yeah, good Blu-ray. I'm happy with it. I'm not a big special features guy anyway, so as long as you give me a nice looking package, and this artwork is fantastic. I love the artwork, and yeah, you give me a good looking package, very good video audio quality. I'm happy. So this has that, so definitely pick it up. All right, let's move on and wrap this up with some final thoughts. Okay, so Death Valley. I liked Death Valley. I do. I think this is a good film. It's I would call it an enjoyable horror film that had some really good slasher moments. Um, it is definitely, like I said, it's not your typical 80s slasher, but that's not a bad thing because this film, like I said, it was focusing on the other elements, um, some other elements within the horror genre. And I think they mostly succeeded. Like there was some very tense moments, some good acting. There was no jump scares, nothing like that. It was just an early 80s horror film with slasher kills. Yeah, I don't know. Like the whole road trip theme to this movie, um, going through the desert, I found it quite unique. Just the feel and the tone. It felt like not too many films, and it's just that this is a great setting to place a horror film in, like out in the middle of the desert, driving between like there's like little pit stops out in the desert. Um, and once you're there and you're stuck at a hotel, like there's nowhere to go. Like you're kind of abandoned, like in a wide open space, and you have to stick to like the houses and stuff. You can't run off into the desert. It's a good horror film location for sure. The film itself was directed really well. There was some really nice looking like shots. Um, it looked good, like just like the cinematography, the editing, like I said, the camera angles. It's a well-made film, well-written film, well acted. With like I said, the exception of little Ralphie here. Um, yeah, like this is a solid film. Definitely a solid film. The kills and the nudity aren't top notch, but at least I feel like they were included. Like there was something here. Like it wasn't the focus, but it's almost like, okay, if we're gonna make one of these slasher films, we gotta put some practical effect type of kills. We gotta put a little bit of nudity, and then we'll do whatever we want to do story wise. And that's I felt like what they did, and I feel like it was successful. It worked. Um, yeah, like this is a plot driven horror film. Good concept, good setting. And the conclusion, like even though it was a little predictable, it was still good. Like if you didn't see it coming, if you didn't predict it, it wasn't like mind blowing, but it worked. It was pretty good. So yeah, Death Valley, uh, really enjoyable horror film, and it's a pretty good 80s slasher, but it definitely is a slasher in my opinion. All right, everybody, that's it. Thanks for watching, and yeah, until next time. All right, see ya.